Hello students! We are moving into Unit 9 and this is a lesson directed for 7th grade, so make sure that you are a 7th grader watching this video. If not, if you're an 8th grader, make sure you go back and figure out what 8th grade lesson you need to be watching. So 7th grade, for starting off Unit 9, we are going to be talking about surface area as well as volume. Okay, so we've got two different lessons on surface area. I believe this should be somewhat of a review from last year, and then you've got two lessons on volume. So our we've got three different icons. So one of them says I can use two-dimensional nets to represent three-dimensional solids. Nets are when you take basically a shape and you just squish it, and you decide to open it up and you make it a 2D object, okay? But it's still representing that three-dimensional. We'll continue looking at nets, and I'll kind of show you a picture of what nets look like as we go through. The next one is I can find surface areas of rectangle and triangular prisms. So we're talking about prisms today. And our last one is I can solve real-life problems. Skipping our warm-up. So your essential question for the day is how can you find the surface area of prisms? Now, it depends on what kind of prism. Like we saw before, we were talking about either rectangular prisms or triangular prisms. So let's go ahead and look at, I think we're looking at rectangular prisms first. Okay. So if I'm going to find the surface area of a prism, the surface area S of any prism is the sum of the area of the bases and the lateral faces. Now this is a very basic equation, okay? So you're going to get a more detailed equation as we go through, but basically to find your surface area, it's going to be the area of the bases. So in instance, okay, what is the thing that's sitting on the bottom of your shape? What's at the top, okay? And then all the other parts of the shape along the way. All right, so I decided to grab a box here, okay? This has got some lotion, some cream in it. But what it is this is a prism, okay? My bases would be this part and this part. Then when I find those areas, then I'm going to find all the lateral faces. It's going to be all these ones, okay, going around. Because ultimately, this is a 3D shape. It has 6 different sides. So I'm going to need to find the area of each part and then add them all together. All right, so we're going to talk about rectangular prisms first. So just like how my box here is a rectangular prism, okay? The surface area S of a rectangular prism is the sum of the area of the bases and the lateral faces. So this is what they are talking about. That is a net, okay? This is my net. Basically like I opened up this shape, okay? It's kind of like I opened up this box and I decided to lay this box completely flat. No part is overlapping another part of this box, okay? So here's your original 3D shape. They decide to make it flat. If it's easier for you to visualize this, you can use this net and draw it out. My suggestion though for these ones is you've got a fairly okay formula. So it's going to give you step by step. So this formula is going to be really important. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. So what it means is that you're going to find the area of the bases. Your bases are going to be length times width. Because remember, when you're finding the area of a rectangle, it's just your length times your width. But I also need to find the area of the lateral faces. So there's 2 bases, so that's why I have 2 times length times width. So this is this base as well as this base up here. Then I have plus 2 times the length times the height. Okay, that's going to be these sides over here. Oops, sorry, these ones in front and back. And then the 2 times the width times the height, which are going to be my sides over here. Okay, this formula is going to be really important as we go through and find your surface area of rectangular prisms. Okay. Let's start with an example here. So here's an example of given a rectangular prism, and they want you to find the surface area. So the biggest thing, given that formula that we had, is understanding what is your length, what is your width, and what is your height. Okay. So what I did first is I just labeled them out. My length is 3, so how long is this box? The width is how wide it is, so that's why I'm picking this 5. And my height is going to be 6. Okay, that's how tall my figure is. So that's first what I did is I just labeled them. Okay, my L is 3 inches, height is 6. I know it's a little hard to see the 6. Let's figure out why I know better. 6 inches, and my width is 5 inches. Then I'm going to go back and look at that formula. The formula goes surface area equals 2 times the length times the width plus 2 times the length times the height plus 2 times the width times the height. And so what I did from there is now I just have all these variables and I have to just plug in those numbers. So I took my equation and I'm plugging in those numbers. So my length is 3, my width is 5, so that's why I have 2 times 3 times 5 here. Okay, go through and you just fill in the rest of the parts on what you need to multiply. All right, step by step. Don't just try and plug this all in your calculator and expect to get the right answer, especially given that it has order of operations and more than likely your calculator is not going to read the order of operations. Okay. Given that with my order of operations, I want to multiply first. I'm taking this 2 times 3 times 5. What is that answer? What is 2 times 3 times 6? What is that answer? What's 2 times 5 times 6? Okay. From there, I get 30, 36, and 60. I add them together, and I get 126 inches. Now, we're talking about surface area, and just like when we were talking about, oh, sorry, I forgot to do something on here. Your surface area, it is an area, okay? So the part that I forgot is squaring these units because it's a surface area. Areas are always squared, okay? A few people have caught some mistakes on my other video lessons, and that's just because I'm a little scatterbrained, and you know that I tend to make mistakes when I'm a little scatterbrained. And it's totally fine. Correct me on the mistakes as we go through. Just comment below, and I will tell you if you're right or wrong, and thank you for checking on that, okay? Other students, watch out for those mistakes if you want to look at the bottom of these videos and see if anyone caught those mistakes as well, okay? So making sure that your units are squared, right? And that is the answer for example 1. At any time, if you want to pause this video so you can write down the work, or if I'm moving a little too fast, go for it. All right, the next part isn't on your own, so I want you to use that formula and find the surface area of the prism, okay? I highly suggest if you don't remember this formula, look at your notes. I'm not going to rewrite it here. Look at your notes or go back in this video to find the formula. Okay, use what you know to figure it out. All right, go ahead and pause this video or go backwards if you need to find the formula. When you come back, I will have the answers for you. All right, welcome back. Your first one, again, I would say that this is your length, this is your width, this is your height. So when I set these up in my formulas, okay, I started by just writing length times length is, height is, width is, and I started throwing them in the formula. Now I didn't rewrite the formula, but understanding that I'm taking 2 times the length times the width plus 2 times the length times the height plus 2 times the width times the height, I believe is the one I missed. And then adding these all together. This should be a 12, 12 plus 14 plus 16, and I get an answer of 52 feet. And the part that I continued to forget is that feet squared. Okay, so make sure you're squaring those units. I even forgot myself. Okay. All right, your next one, the 8 is your length. Your width is 8 as well. It's kind of a weird W. And your height is 5. So again, I just started by labeling those out. Okay. Plugging them into that formula that I was given. Multiply them out first, and then I can add them all together. So my 2 times my 8 times my 8 gets me 128. 2 times 8 times 5 is 80, and I get that again as well as 80. I decided to add the two 80s together to get 160, and from there I added these two together to get 288 meters, and remember to put those squared parts, it's surface area. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to contact me through email, Google Classroom, on our daily Zoom chats, whatever is going to work best for you. I'm always here to help no matter what. This is part of my job, even though I'm not physically with you. I'm still here to answer all your questions. All right, let's keep going. All right, so the next part is we are going to talk about surface area of rectangular prisms. Rectangular prisms are a lot harder, okay, because they don't have a very strict like formula that we were given just for those rectangular prisms. For your triangular prisms, you need to think about your bases and then your lateral faces. So back to that basic formula of the two bases plus your lateral faces. So the first part is one way that is a lot easier to find the surface area of a prism is to draw out a net, okay? So draw this out, open up the shape, kind of visualize it, start throwing in some of those numbers, okay? So you've got your two triangles, those are your bases. You've got, looks to be a little bit of a longer rectangle, and then some smaller rectangles as well. So let's think about this side first. Actually, I think I'm going to go kind of like this. Well, I'll do this, okay? So they want to find the area of your bases. Remember, your area formula for a triangle is 1/2 times the base times the height, okay? In this case, now thinking about the fact that it's a right triangle, your base is this 3, or you could make the base the 4. This 5 is not going to go in this equation. It needs to be the parts that are flat, okay, that you could easily set on a table where it's going to stay straight up and down. So you use 3 and 4, and you take 1/2 of that. Well, 3 times 4 is 12. Divide that by 2 is 6. Okay, that is the area of the base. From there, then, you want to find the area of the lateral faces. So what they did is they take the green lateral face. So in this case, this is the green. You take length times width. Okay, well, one of my sides is 3. Well, where's the other side? Okay, it doesn't look like it's right next to it, but if you use the shape, you realize that this side is also 6 because it has to match up with this side. 3 times 6 gives you 18. And then move on to the purple one. This is the one where I kind of crossed it off, but you've got the 5. Again, this longer side here is going to be 6, so 5 times 6 gives me 30. And then this last one, you've got 4 times 6, which gives you 24. From there, then, you can add all these up together, okay? But the thing to remember is, and what gets a little tricky, is add the area of the bases and the lateral faces. So again, here was that basic formula that I was telling you you're going to want to use for this one. The area of the bases. Remember, there's 2 bases right now. I only found the area for one of them. So they're adding 2 6s because there's 2 identical bases. Okay, so 6 plus 6, and then they go back and add up the other sides, plus 18 plus 30 plus 24, which gives you 84. So your answer then is going to be 84 meters. And remember, you got to square the unit. The surface area is 84 square meters. Okay. Again, pause it if you need to. Okay, the trickiest part, I think, is drawing out this shape and understanding where all of the numbers go. Okay. The next part is an on your own. So I want you to take the time to pause the video, which actually it's going to be a really good time for me to just stop this part of the video. So take the time now to end this video, work on these problems. Okay, I want you to see if you can draw out the net, figure out what sides you're adding as well. What are those lateral sides, as well as what is the area of the bases. Add the area of the bases together plus those lateral faces to get your surface area, okay? Catch me in part 2 and I will go through the answers of these as well as the rest of this lesson, okay? See you in part 2. Bye.